Hey Noel, hey Harry.
Hey, Stan.
Yes, Dan.
Did we get a response from oh, I see Belinda. So let me let her in before letting everyone else in and ask her if she's okay to do that part that we were asking of her. Hey Belinda. Harry, I'm gonna make you co-host, but I'm gonna wait to let everyone in.
All right, sounds good. Also, Kayla Elliott just sent me the PDFs of the Ed Trust and Vera's letters to the department for the FAFSA stuff to
Okay,
share with the attendees if you want.
perfect. Belinda can talk. We were just gonna ask you if you're okay with talking on Vera's letter, Belinda. About
Yeah, sure. Harry, just super quick, my friend. I just actually sent you, I saw Kimberly's email and I just sent you an email like about 2 minutes ago that actually had the final letter that Vera actually uploaded to the Federal Register. So feel free to use that one, Harry, to have there. But yes, Stan, I'm very happy to, to mention that. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I think the layout will be, we'll go into breakouts for intros again for about 10 minutes. And then you will be up right as we get out of the breakouts, Belinda.
Sure,
So
that's
at
fine.
about 15,
William or
15
myself, either one is fine. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't see William on here yet. So Kayla, I guess, is not going to be on either, Harry, if she sent us that information.
Yeah, she said she couldn't make it.
So I don't think William or Kayla from Ed Trust are joining. So it'll just be you going over that, and we'll chime in also.
Sure, sounds good.
And then the rest of the agenda, we can, Kim, me, you, and me and you can kind of touch on the other agenda item points. But if we're good to go, we can let folks in. Any questions? Right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to those that can join us or that are joining us today. How's everyone feeling this Monday afternoon? Good, good. Great to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Always good to see new folks joining us. So thank you. If this is your first meeting joining us, we appreciate you. So for those that are familiar with our meetings, we like to do a quick breakout introduction. So to go over how that looks like, essentially, if you can just, we'll put you in the breakout rooms. You should have just about 3 people in the room. And we want to give you, if you could take about 3 minutes to say name, affiliation, and what brings you to Unlock Higher Ed, or anything interesting that you're working on or interesting that you'd like to share. So to get right into things, I will drop us into breakout. Oh, give me 1 second. And this is completely random, so hopefully it works out. I know sometimes it doesn't quite work out, but hopefully you meet somebody new and your room should be open. So if you're just joining us, we just opened up the breakout rooms. If you're on a cell phone, It should be on the top left corner. If you click on your screen, and then the top left corner should have a breakout. Good afternoon. So Sheila, we are just moving into breakout introduction. So I'm going to put you in a room if that's okay. And just
Thanks.
name,
Thank you.
affiliation. Yep. Michelle and Jay, are you okay with, we just sent you to a breakout room. If you click on your screen, you should see it.
And then I got something going on.
Oh, okay, no worries. I see you just kind of getting in. Hey, Shannon and Mary, we are just in breakout introductions. So I'm going to send you over to breakout rooms for introductions.
Maybe I jumped the gun, but I saw it at the bottom of the page and I didn't want to wait, we only have an hour for the meeting, so.
Yeah, that's okay.
You all done with your intros?
We thought maybe we had missed the cue to come back, so we came back a little bit early, but I don't think you've pulled us out yet.
Oh, yeah, we have just about 2 more minutes. Try to give 10 minutes. And we were about 5 after the hour when we started.
Stan, this is Brenda. I apologize. I have to leave at 1:50 for another meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully we get a good amount of discussion in before then.
Yeah, we were just talking in our group about making sure that we put pressure on the Department of Education to get the NPRM out in a timely fashion. And we shouldn't probably wait to see if they get it out on time so we don't miss our deadlines. So we might want to, you may want to suggest that as a group that we notify the department that we're waiting and watching and expect
I mean,
timeline to be met.
I think that's on the agenda. We're talking about
okay.
the incarcerated FAFSA. I think that could jump in right at the beginning of the agenda. And
Okay, fine, great.
Yep, so if you can add that comment in and bring it to the discussion, that would be great.
Happy to. Sorry.
Stan,
Colin.
Stan, are
Yep.
you, I know CLA is here this week, and I saw on their agenda that they're having a short Pell discussion at the end of their, I think it's on Wednesday morning. Are you involved? Do you know anything about who is like leading that discussion about Pell Grants for the CLA conference?
I believe Belinda is part of that conversation.
Good, okay, good.
And I'm about to close out the breakouts. You could also, that would be great to mention to the group as well, if you'd like, and Belinda can maybe speak on it.
Yeah, it's, my sense is it's sort of like a closed conference. It's not like one
it
that
is,
others.
it sounds like.
Yeah,
right.
so, but I was just glad to see that it was on their agenda. Correctional Leaders Association, it's all the state corrections heads, Brenda.
Oh, great, thank you. How old is your baby?
3 months, and he's
Aw.
fast asleep right now.
That's good.
Baby William.
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. So we should have folks trickling in here in a moment. Right. So welcome back. I believe we have just about everyone back with us. So maybe 1 or 2 comments from the breakout, if anyone wants to share anything interesting that they discussed in their breakout before moving to the first agenda item.
I would like to ask Ms. Higgins, because she joined us and the clock ran out. So if she could take like a couple of seconds to introduce herself. I hate to throw you on, I hate to throw this to you, I really do. But you did not get a chance to share in our breakout. So yeah, I would like to ask that if possible. If she chooses not to, I don't want to put any pressure on her.
Sure, sure. Yes, I was randomly selected to move rooms. So my name is Shahida Hagans. I am the founding director of Enlightened Pathways, and we are based in Long Island, New York.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from the breakouts before we pass it over to our first person on the agenda? Well, again, hopefully you met someone new today and had the opportunity to learn something about someone new, hopefully, or learn something new about someone you knew already. So I will drop the agenda here in a second, but first on our agenda, we were going to have Belinda Wheeler from Vera talk a little bit about the incarcerated students FAFSA that Vera, as well as Ed Trust, has put together a response letter to that. And so Belinda, if you are ready, if you could take the floor and share any information that you have on that process.
Sure, happy to, Stan, and thanks everyone. Happy Monday to you all. I was just asked just to kind of provide, I know I had spoken earlier to the Unlocking Higher Ed community about it's called the FAFSA IAF. I use quotation marks. I use person first language myself, but the document itself is incarcerated applicant form. So we had shared in the Unlocking Higher Ed community the link to the Department of Education's proposed FAFSA IAF form, and then there's a public comment period that ends at 11:59 p.m. East. I think it's 11:59 p.m. Eastern tonight, where if any organization or individual wants to respond to that document, that they can do so in the Federal Register. And I believe we shared that information too, but definitely reach out to me. I can certainly forward that to you. So what I just really briefly wanted to share with the community here is, thanks to everyone who had, looked at Vera's public comments, what we were planning to forward to the Federal Register a response to the incarcerated applicant form. And just briefly, we had 14 main points that we really wanted to bring to the Department of Education's attention about potential issues or concerns that we saw with that document. And I will say that this letter wasn't done in a vacuum. I want to share, we've got co-signers here, which I'll just mention. These were just listed in alphabetical order. The Center for American Progress, Geraldine Downey from the Center for Justice of Columbia, the Ed Trust, FICGN, P2P, Georgia CHEP, Columbia University, UHE, and Stanford University. The community had reached out to us, given us some feedback, and we were able to then, formulate this final response to the Department of Education with this document. So I'm certainly happy to share this in the chat section that we have here. If yourself or your organization hasn't yet signed on to a letter, feel free. Ours has already been submitted, but feel free to reach out to others to see if other people have not yet submitted theirs. But also, just as an individual, if you want to, feel free to upload your own comments, to that. I think it's really important that the country responds to this document. So that's all I just really wanted to share in a nutshell here. I know that this document, various versions of this document has been circulated through the Unlocking Higher Ed community. So I don't want to go through and, go through all 14 or anything here that we listed. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has, with regards to this. But just to kind of put on your radar too, that the closing of the public comment period happens tonight at 11:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Federal Register. So let me stop there and check in and see if there's any questions or comments or anything like that. Thank you.
And in addition to if anyone has questions, comments to add, I wanted to open up the space because I just saw that Kayla joined from Ed Trust, but don't let me put you on the spot if you're not in a good place to speak. But I know, we just mentioned that Ed Trust also put out a letter. So Kayla, if you wanted to speak to that, please do. We're talking about Vera's letter at the moment.
Sure. Hi, everybody. This is Kayla from Ed Trust. I am boarding a plane, but did want to hop on in case anyone had any questions. William is on and definitely able to speak to the letter and our process for putting it together. He definitely had some concerns about the labeling of the form as separate for currently incarcerated students and what that would do for completion. And we had one of our other Justice Fellows to provide some good research that we could cite on how different things might discourage applications and completion of applications. So definitely really excited to be able to submit that and to be able to include their perspective for sure in the letter that William was able to draft. And yeah, happy to answer questions. I probably got about 20 minutes before takeoff.
Thank you, Kayla. So we will open it to questions, comments, thoughts on this, incarcerated students FAFSA and the responses from Vera and Ed Trust.
Hey, this is Terrell. So, Belinda, or anyone else who would be able to explain, what would be like the biggest impact or, outcomes, ramifications, however you want to describe, from this Federal Register and what's being proposed?
Terrell, thank you for that question. Sorry, part of it cut out on me, so I'm not sure if it's my office here. So you were just asking, like, what's a big takeaway from the current document? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The current document that the Department of Education has shared, it seems or appears that perhaps some of the information from the original FAFSA for all, traditional students has perhaps been kind of cut and paste into this one, this very new document that they've created. So, a number of the things that you'll actually see in that letter that's attached here, Harry, thank you very much for putting that in the comments here, is that there's certain things that they're asking for students who happen to be in a carceral space to complete, and some of those things just literally are not possible. So, to answer Terrell's question, I think for some students, if they were to look at the current draft that the Department of Ed has created, that a student might be like, oh, I can't possibly fill this out. I'm just going to put the form off to the side and I'm going to not pursue a college education. So I think one of the things that, that we really tried to focus on, and again, thanks to all our co-signers on this document who gave valuable input, is to really try to limit a situation where a question would seem, just to discourage a student from moving forward with the application process. I think just trying to make the FAFSA more accommodating to these unique situations that students find themselves who happen to be incarcerated. So that's more of a general. Terrell, let me pass it back to you, my friend, if you had a more specific question. But I think we were really just trying to minimize the harm and minimize the chance that a student might see said, FAFSA, which in of itself is a pretty intimidating document, for any student, but, particularly in this carceral setting, to try to make it more accessible.
Yeah, I'd agree with that from our perspective as well. The FAFSA for incarcerated students, as it was labeled and sent around, was identical. All of the questions are identical. And as Belinda said, there are so many different situations that aren't applicable or very hard to gather that information. And so my question was, what's the point, right? Like, so you have this document, it's labeled separately, but absolutely identical to the regular FAFSA. So what is the point? And in speaking with the Department of Education, we saw this as an opportunity, one, to say either if it's going to be the same form, don't label it separately. But if it is going to be a different form, then we should absolutely make changes that make it easier for folks to apply, not just replicate the same difficulties. And I do say, I know Ed Trust letter was shared around, instead of repeating all of Vera's recommendations, which we agreed with. We really just writ large said, yes, we absolutely agree with those, and added a few of our own. So huge, huge, huge kudos to you all for doing that work for sure. And anything we can do to work together. I think this is a great example of showing that. For sure. I think we added in some discussion around like what it means, what it conveys to people when they see that form, and how they might believe that it might follow them. We know that financial aid officers don't actually see the actual FAFSA that students complete, and very rarely actually see the ICER, but there is a perception that like, if I fill out this form, it's going to follow me forever, even when I'm no longer incarcerated. So just being incredibly careful not to label the form, even when it is made and tailored to the incarcerated student experience.
Thank you, thank you. I think this is also a good point. Brenda, if you wanted to introduce what you had
Sure.
shared.
Sure. In our small group, Bradley actually mentioned that the NPRM for the Pell restoration should be coming out shortly. And we just decided in our subgroup that we don't want to wait to see if they make their deadline or timeline, and to be writing to the department now to say we are waiting and watching and are here to assist you if you need input on it, but let's not hold up the process. So I just think we ought to be proactive to the department, let them know that we are watching and waiting and making sure that they meet their deadlines, was the recommendation that our small group had when we went into breakouts.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Brenda.
Brenda.
I'll just-
Yeah, Bradley.
Yeah, I was just
I'm
going to
sorry.
jump in to answer your question. So just to sort of catch us up on timeline, the last time we've seen anything about Pell restoration for incarcerated students was when the negotiated rulemaking committee finished their work in December. What we've been waiting for is an announcement from the education department that it basically says like, we're ready to move this process forward. And that's called the notice of proposed rulemaking. We have to get that NPRM with time, at the minimum 30 days. Usually it's more like 60 days for the public to give comment on that NPRM. And then there's some other meetings that have to happen. All of that has to be done so that the department can, at the very latest, publish the final rule on November 1st of this year. If any of those steps delay that publication date, even to November 2nd, 2022, the implementation date of Pell Grants for incarcerated students moves from July 2023 to July 2024. It's just like an automatic statutory thing that happens. So what Brenda and I are saying, you know, okay, we've been patient, we've given grace to the department because they're doing a lot right now, but we need some confidence that this NPRM is going to come out on time, so that we keep the ball rolling towards July 2023 effective date. So, you know, this could be an opportunity just simply for a letter to say, you know, make this a priority, get this out, get it out soon. I don't know that I've heard anything specific that lets me know that it's not going to happen. But again, there's a lot going on right now. And, you know, this community just needs to make sure that the Department of Education, you know, is hearing us and knows that it's a priority. So, opportunity here to make some noise.
Sorry, probably can you
Thank
just
you.
repeat what needs to happen by November 1st? Like what's that trigger that needs to happen by November 1st?
The final regulation has to be published by the Department of Education by November 1st, 2022 for a July 23 implementation. And that final regulation is the product of negotiated rulemaking plus the comment period that will happen sometime in the near future. That is the regulation that the department will implement that will drive Pell Grant restoration. So for the most part, we know what's in it. You know, like it shouldn't change a whole lot from what came out of negotiated rulemaking in December, but some changes can happen. That's the whole purpose of this comment period coming up. So there shouldn't be like major surprises, but it still has to get done. we can't work from this like draft regulation to implement Pell Grants.
So Bradley, do you have a suggested like course of action from the group, like a comment we should all put together, or one of our organizations can put together and sign on?
Yeah, that's a good question on just like who does it. So yeah, I think we can draft just a letter. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. And then we can just make it from Unlock, or we can have organizations sign on to it. Sometimes it gets, Belinda knows and Kayla knows that getting people to sign on to letters can sometimes be like complicated, but a letter from Unlock I think would be pretty straightforward. So yeah, I can definitely either get that started or work with Brenda and others to get it started.
I'm happy to help with that. And I think we should send it to the Undersecretary, James Quall, in addition to other people. And we just need to get it out, let them know that we're watching and waiting and don't expect any delays. I'm happy to work with you, Bradley, on the letter, and anybody else who wants to join.
Yeah,
Sounds like
whatever
a plan.
Unlock Higher Ed can do, we will.
So the question is, Stan, do you want it to come from Unlocking Higher Ed?
I think so. So that's actually something that we can talk about a little bit in this next part on the agenda. But yes, I would think so. And so if we can get, in the notes, the follow-up to those individuals that just volunteered, that they would be a part of that, we will make sure that's included in the follow-up that we send out.
And to your point, Bradley, I don't think we need to worry about having folks sign on. We can send it to major organizations and suggest that they either resend our letter or add their own letter, et cetera, the way Kayla talked about folks doing it at Trust.
Yeah, that reduces some of the complication of getting letters out. So I think that's good.
Awesome. Any final comments on this topic?
Hello.
Hey, William, how you doing?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Sorry for my
We're
tardiness.
just-
I was double booked. Did you just talk about the sign-on
We're
letter?
closing up. We're closing out
Okay.
on that. Did you want to add? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to maybe add anything since you're jumping in, but yeah, we just talked about Vera's letter and Ed Trust's letter.
Okay. No, I'd just be good to know. Was all feedback was positive?
Yep, I'd say
Okay.
so. I mean, anyone else want to? I think so, yeah. So I just dropped the tentative agenda in the chat. And so next up, we wanted to talk a little bit about these, the priorities that Unlock Higher Ed should be focusing on. We have a good number of people on this, on the listserv. And we didn't get quite the response rate that we would have hoped for, because there's a couple hundred plus folks on the listserv, and we didn't quite get a strong response rate. But nonetheless, I can just share what we did get, and I could share my screen to show that, and then tell you what our thoughts were on this. So, looking at this here, and we spent a couple of meetings kind of talking about this, and our steering committee team has spent some time thinking about this, and we want to just bring it to the group as to what we could focus on. And you can click on the link to this in the agenda and it'll pull up. I know that the way it's showing right now doesn't show exactly what each of these sections are, but the ones that got the top votes were assisting colleges and universities with implementation of prison education programs, assisting correctional institutions with implementation of prison education programs, creating toolkits to help stakeholders create a state-level college and prison advisory committee, working with the U.S. Department of Education to increase access to education and implement Pell, and helping prison education programs connect with community groups and directly impacted leaders. So when we had the steering committee conversation about this, there was a couple of things that we thought about that we wanted to bring to this group to think about. Is we could actually focus on, some of these can be dropped into maybe one bucket that is a larger focus. And in that way, when we think about what are the top things that we focus on, we could actually encompass more than, the top 3 by creating those buckets. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing that we discussed was whatever it is that we found to be what we wanted to focus on out of this list or other things to add, we wanted to create subcommittees, which soon I'll drop a survey asking for those who want to jump on subcommittees. But we want to create subcommittees that serve as kind of the working groups that are the working body behind creating something towards, addressing these priorities. And that could be creating, whether we host webinars, because we have a lot of experts that, are on this call and in this network and in this coalition of folks. So creating educational webinars for the community, or, one of the things was creating toolkits. So through the subcommittees, which can serve as these working groups, they can work to create toolkits. Or, one of the things was working with U.S. Department of Education. What does that look like? We can have a subcommittee or working group that actually, thinks more deeply on this and what that product might look like. And so that's what, out of these priorities, in addition to that, on the survey, we asked people what other areas should we be focusing on? And you can see responses: work to be the source of stakeholders seeking to increase access to education, certification programming, removing barriers, economic development. What do people see as the purpose of Unlock Higher Ed? Purpose is, for me, to learn how to make reentry programs that set a goal. This was specific to Antioch College, sharing best practices to be informed of what is happening, to connect people with shared passion and increasing access to education, to learn how to transcend my past, removing application barriers. So you can see, there's a various number of why people want to connect, and there, are kind of varying degrees of what we should focus on. So what we were hoping to get is a solid commitment, and I'll drop the subcommittee survey here in a second, but we really want to kind of start taking action on things. And I mean, this, what we're doing with the letter is taking action. If we had designated subcommittees, that can just go directly to that designated subcommittee. And then of course, anyone who would be interested could jump in, but we'd already have like the muscle behind getting that done, even if there wasn't direct volunteers to one particular action item. So that is, I want to open up to thoughts on the priorities. And then also after we have a discussion on the priorities, I'll open up the Zoom survey for those interested. You could tell us if you're interested in joining a subcommittee. And I could tell you a little bit more about what we have in mind for those subcommittees. But before that, thoughts on priorities. And Kim, please add in anything that I may have missed from our steering committee conversation.
Hi, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So my name is Shahida. I'm from Enlightened Pathways. I've operated as a grassroots organization for quite some time. I'm just now upscaling. I deal with promoting socioeconomic development as UHE does through rigorous aptitude testing and personality profiling to be able to pinpoint meaningful career paths and also help them with the blueprint to get there. And what I do is after I compose a professional development plan for them that gets them, that incorporates short and long-term goals towards occupational prestige, I'm basically serving as a resource center. So what is contained in my professional development goal plans for these individuals is a lot of the different agencies that kind of work as a conglomerate to get these people different places, because a lot of us have different niches. A lot of us don't deal with the whole man, and that's because that it takes a lot to be able to do that. So I deliver vocational case management services, which really also double as life coach services as well. And what I am trying to do currently is I'm trying to get a directory of at least 500 organizations, which I was explaining in a break room. I'm personally vetting out because I know in the nonprofit world, there is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and there are a lot of organizations that have big names and big funding and really not doing the work. So I could send my client there and it can come back right in the same position. But if you leave it to those organizations, they have served them, right? But my clients are not saying the same thing. So the fact that just bridging the gap with a lot of these grassroots organization, it got a very low it got a very low vote on the results. I feel that is one of the priorities that we need. We need to bridge the gap between reentry communities because there's a lot of co-vetting, but even those who have the same areas, everybody I notice branches off in a niche. So we all need each other because, I can help, with 1,000,001 things, and the 1,000,002nd thing, I need another agency because maybe I don't, deal with that niche. So I think bridging that gap is very important.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that, we want to put out an official priorities. So we're going to give it, one more meeting to officially kind of vote on different things within, the membership and people that are engaging. And we can certainly add that to that list of things. And I open it up if anyone wants to comment on that. And I would agree on your, bridging that gap is really important. I know that's part of what we do within P2P. Sheila?
It's interesting. I think when you look at the priorities, Stan, I see things sort of fall into two buckets, and both buckets are very important. I think you could almost do the dividing line between post-release and pre-release, and working on making sure education is supported on both levels. My focus is definitely pre-release in what I do, which is why, when I vote on things, I'm voting constantly on things like making sure the department head, I'm terribly worried the Department of Ed will harm us if we don't do what Brenda says, which is watch them and make sure they know we're watching them and there to support them, and that they don't either intentionally or accidentally make decisions that will make these programs not viable to be offered. But then there are also all the very, very important post-release work areas that need to be done. Like we just heard about the connecting to services. And so in some ways, there almost seems to be a natural split between those two focuses in the buckets of priorities that you're showing.
Yeah, I agree. And could you send us that language of how you would be interested in seeing that split in the two buckets?
I mean,
Or we could just capture what you just said as well, but
yeah, and I think it's really, if you look at the listing of all the different priorities, there are mostly they either go pre-release or post-release. And I don't think you can make the decision that one is more important than the other. They're both terrifically important. So however we do our priorities as an affinity group here, I hope that we recognize the priority of each of those two things. So that we're making efforts in both areas, if that makes sense. Because you can't prioritize one over the other.
Thank you. And we will add that. And Bradley, thank you for answering Terrell's question. Looks like Kayla is taking off, and Margaret, we're gonna try to put 5 minutes at the end, and we're running close on that for new business or anybody wanting to share. So I'll just drop and mention that and elevate that. So Margaret just dropped in the chat an opportunity from BJA that is fitting to many organizations likely on the call. So certainly check that out. Thank you, Margaret, for dropping that. So I just launched the survey poll, and looks like we're just at about 88% of folks have responded. Any of those last few folks that want to respond to "Are you interested to joining?" This will capture your information, and we'll be able to contact you from that if you respond. I want to launch the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out if you haven't responded yet. So thank you to all those that are interested. We appreciate you. And we will be in contact with you in that regard to launch the next one. And as I launch this one, I want to share, so this is asking on some potential ideas for subcommittees, and would you be interested in them? I just want to share, let's see, sorry about that, really quickly. This that I dropped in the chat previously, for those that are just, joining us or may not recall, our membership is based on commitment that you can provide to Unlock Higher Ed and or funds that you could provide, but knowing that we don't want to limit anybody from being, funds being a limit. There is hours that you could commit to being a part. Simply joining our monthly call, makes you a member. If you're able to contribute, we would love that. And there's different kind of levels of contribution and the level of steering committee. And I know I've mentioned that a couple of times. These were organizations and individuals that were able to commit, this financial commitment or that commitment in hours. And so the idea behind the subcommittees is also based on hours. So we hope if you join the subcommittee, we would ask you to be able to commit 5 hours per month and, one additional meeting to this. And so within that 5 hours, one of those hours is going to be the additional meeting. And then, about 3 to 4 hours is you doing some type of action for that subcommittee. We also want to try to recruit chairs for the subcommittee. That's just of not much more of a commitment, but we would ask our chairs to either report out to the steering committee, just so we can prepare your report out to the larger monthly group. So it's a little bit of extra time and potentially that extra meeting to meet with the steering committee group. So that is the ask that we have if you are interested in joining the subcommittee. Sheila, do you have your question to that, or is your hand still raised?
That was an old hand raise. I'm trying to figure out how to,
It's hard to do from a cell phone.
it is.
Does anyone have questions on, and it looks like we're at 68% on the subcommittee focus. This does not necessarily mean that, so some of these were subcommittees that we've had previously. So media and messaging, events, state level advocacy and federal level advocacy were the subcommittees that we previously had. One of the ideas was to have the subcommittees focused on the priorities. But I think we're still kind of coming to a final decision on that. I think if we had it broader, we can focus, each of the groups can kind of be helping to focus on all the priorities in a different way, whatever their subcommittee is focused on. So we have about 72% that have responded, and we're running out of time. So I'm gonna end the poll and share the results here. So again, we have your information captured for those that are interested. We will be in contact with you very quickly because one of the other ideas is that we would like to have at least 3 to 4 events or products that we bring to the larger community. Potentially that could be webinars or toolkits, but we really want to try to start convening the subcommittees relatively soon. So we will be in contact with you soon about that. Questions, Margaret?
Just a thought. So looking out at the different organizations involved in Pell reinstatement and sort of the broader college and prison community, I think there's sort of 2 places where I could see this group filling a need that I don't think others are going to take up, honestly. One, and we've talked about this, we talked about this, I think, right after the law passed, but one would be once the final rulemaking is done, because there's a lot of details, that'll get finalized, to do some kind of explainer piece on what is a Pell Grant and how does it work, that could be shared in prisons or with family members who have loved ones who are thinking about applying to college while incarcerated. And then the other is, the piece in the rulemaking about sort of organizations being involved in some kind of advisory committee as corrections departments are reviewing applications from multiple colleges interested in teaching in prison. I think the easier we can make it for corrections departments to connect with those organizations that have leaders with lived experience that are interested in participating in those kinds of conversations. I think the easier we can make it for them, the more likely it will be that we'll see that in more and more states. And so if that's of interest to this group to, think about how to do that. Is it a one-pager? Is it a toolkit? Is it a call me, I'll connect you with the person in Missouri, or the organizations that are, working hard on the grassroots level in whatever state. That feels like a place that, you need somebody who's got a bigger view.
And I agree. Would that fall into any of the subcommittees listed, or is that something new, a different one that you would propose?
I don't remember if it was one on the subcommittee list, but it is on I think it was
Priorities
like
list?
4th on the priorities list, maybe.
Well, if I could, to both Margaret's point and to Stan's point, one of the things that we had talked about was the ability to create the materials, sort of like what we did with Unlock the Box, right? Where we had toolkits and we had state updates and we had talking guides and we had all of that, to be able to develop those that people could access. So again, somebody who doesn't even understand what Pell is or what these initial, because again, you need a dictionary for some of these definitions that we throw around because we know, would become part and parcel of just what Unlock Higher Ed as a base offers. And some of the webinars like Noel did with the trainings for Ban the Box, we recorded some of those webinars, people could download those, that sort of thing. But again, one of the things that we had talked about was Unlock Higher Ed sort of being not necessarily a subcommittee, but as a maybe it has to be a subcommittee where we could develop these very talking points, these one-sheeters, these things that you need to know, these facts and all of this sort of stuff, so that people could in fact access it when they need to. And then, you know, something that relates directly to, say, working with correctional institutions is one separate sort of messaging thing. One that works with educational is something different, you know, webinars, and it all kind of ties together under the umbrella of Unlock Higher Ed. But that's sort of like what I've sort of envisioned us kind of doing, but being that one-stop sort of shop for all of this, and just having people that want to work on getting information and working with correctional institutions, people that want nothing to do with corrections officials and want to work on educational or want to work on policy pieces. Then there's multiple ways that people can be involved on the totality. I've only had one cup of coffee, y'all. I'm running on at the mouth right now.
This is Daisy. Yes, I agree with what Margaret said. I know from the Department of Corrections side, that is very important for us to have a one-pager that we can provide to incarcerated people who are looking to apply for the Pell Grant, so that they know exactly what that is, what the requirements are, as well as I serve as the college liaison for the Department of Corrections. So I'm in contact a lot with those community colleges and four-year colleges who want to partner with the Department of Correction to bring educational programs in and degree programs. So having that information on a 1 or 2 page handout to share with them would definitely be a lifesaver for my position that I'm in, instead of having to finagle through all of it.
Who are you represent? What's your title and affiliation?
I am the college liaison for the Virginia Department of Corrections. So my task is, or some of my tasks are, to bring college programs into the Virginia Department of Correction facilities. And so right now I've been working throughout the state to determine which colleges are already serving in some of the facilities, and putting a spreadsheet together to try to determine which ones need more support that doesn't have those colleges that's reaching out doing that, other than correspondence courses, and building that bridge between the education and the Department of Corrections. So having that information would be fantastic moving forward, because I get a lot of questions on that. So that would be great if we had that one-stop shop.
I see Odell has his, I know we're running on time, Kim, and I see Odell's been waiting patiently with his hand up.
Hello, everyone. I am so sorry that I'm late. You know, the meetings had a conflict with some other meetings. However, I'm glad to be here. I think that the work that you all are doing is great. I'm really kind of seeking a way I can kind of partner, kind of get involved in the kind of the initiatives that you all are working on. Currently, I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, and my focus is I'm a postdoc at the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences Criminal Justice Research Center. And my focus mainly is on HBCUs that are now seeking the Pell opportunities. We have one college here, I think Terrell is on this call, and Shorter colleges now have about 230 students that they are serving inside prisons and out. However, there's other HBCUs, due to the low enrollment that they're experiencing coming back from the pandemic, that are now seeking to get involved in the Pell opportunity to increase enrollment, also to support those people that are marginalized. So I guess I'm just kind of seeing how coming on to see how I can support and serve, and also receive support from this group on some of the things that we've done here in Arkansas, which is, you know, Arkansas is in the South, and it's hard to work through those systems down here. They're still kind of antiquated, and that's a Bellum kind of era. So, however, we can overcome that. So, having support groups like this will certainly, and bringing the voices of people like yourselves, will certainly be able to benefit the work that we're trying to do here. So,
thank you, Odell, and congratulations to your position. Is that a recent position, or have you been there for?
No, actually, I think I started here about 8 months ago. I never
Okay.
planned to do a postdoc. You know, I've been out of school for quite a while, but it was just seemed like the time was right. You know, I really wanted to, you know, in my research, you know, I didn't see a lot of research of people that look like me talking about this, and those that have had the lived experience like me. And so I took this opportunity to kind of shift gears and get into this space. And it's been very beneficial. And I think higher ed is the way to go, because it's the way that that actually helped me shape my destination and future from where it used to be. So I'm glad.
Appreciate you, man, and congrats again. That's big.
Yeah. Thank you.
I know we are out of time, Kim. If any last thoughts, or Kim, and do you have any last things to share? And we wanted to leave space for any new business. Anybody want to share successes or challenges? And welcome to do that if folks want to stay on. But Kim, any last minute things?
No, I put it in the chat about the materials that we can do. And then the other thing that I think getting some of these materials done and inside to William, and this is what I wanted to say, and William just kind of did it, although he specified the UNGers, was that, you know, the lifers or those that are serving the long sentences are really the best messengers for information and getting information inside. We all have certainly those conduits and those relationships. So I think being able to develop those materials and getting them inside, you know, and again, to Daisy, working with institutions, and, you know, we're making it as easy as possible so we're not adversarial yet. I always have to qualify anything I do with institutions as a yet. But I do think that there's a way that we can do this. And so I'm actually excited about this. I hope everyone is equally as excited. And with that, I'll let it go to new business. Thanks.
Any new business? I know we're 5 minutes after. Or questions, comments, thoughts as we close out? All right, well.
Thank you, everyone.
I know he looked just like his sister. I know that.
Got some cute P2P babies.
Thank you. And little man, this is first unlock meeting, I think.
You know, I just want Stan to lower the camera so I can see more of the baby.
Oh,
You know?
I can't tell.
Come
if
on,
there's-
Stan.
There you go.
Better, much better.
I mean, between Stan's baby and his daughter and William's baby, I'm not sure why I'm in the same neighborhood with these three. I'm not sure why I'm not asked to babysit. I'm just saying, but we do have the
They
cutest
hit
little
you up
baby.
pretty soon then.
I'm telling you.
Hey, listen, hold on. I had to come on camera. I had to come on camera. I needed to hear that.
I made the offer.
Listen, I'm about to start looking up moving to Maryland. You're talking about babysitting.
Okay, now, but let me qualify this. If they're real cute, I may not give them back. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, because we do have some cute kids over in this neighborhood. So everybody, thank you so much. And Kim's babysitting is jumping to another meeting.
Yes.
All right,
That
take
sounds
care,
Thanks,
relevant now,
everybody.
Kim.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Yo, Stan, don't forget to send up emails too. That
Oh, I'm gonna send a text
will-
right now. I'm gonna send a
okay.
text.
All right, perfect, bro. All right, later.
All right, Harry, I'll touch base with you like in a couple, like tomorrow or later today.
Yeah, can you just, I think you were the one that hit the recording. Can you just make sure you hit save the
Send-
recording so I can
Yes.
access it later?
Yep.